In this short segment, we're going to show how service virtualization can alleviate the situation when downstream systems upon which you are dependent are no longer available, which normally would create a work stoppage, ultimately putting your ability to deliver your systems by the date that you committed to at risk. We're going to do this very simply by creating a virtual service. We will then shut down the live backend system, which is a JBoss instance, and then we will rerun the application using the virtual services as a stand-in for the live system so that you can see that it behaves just like it did when the live system was available. Here we are looking at something called the Dev Test Portal, which is a web-based interface into the most commonly required tasks when using the service virtualization solution. We are going to start by clicking on this quick link to create a virtual service. And it brings up a screen where we can specify some parameters that allow us to configure the recorder, which will then capture transactions, forward them on to the live backend system, and then correlate the corresponding responses before sending the response back to the calling application. We're going to start by giving this a name. We can specify the sandbox in which we wish the virtual service to be deployed ultimately. And if we'd like to give it a description, we can certainly do so. My demonstration of the service virtualization solution. Yes, virtualization solution. There you go. Excellent. Down here, you can see a graphical representation of what is about to happen. Here's my calling application, which is a Java Swing client in this particular instance. It will be calling this recorder, which will then forward the request to the backend system. I would like to change the port number to something that I can easily remember. So I'm going to change it to port 8001, and it's going to forward things off to the JBoss instance residing in my backend. Once I've done that, I can start recording. Now, once this happens, you'll see that the transaction count, which starts at 0, will periodically refresh to show you the number of transactions that it has captured. And so I'm going to configure my client application to use the new port, which is where the recorder is running. We will refresh this, and then I'm going to exercise this application like I would normally. I'll insert my ATM card, type in my PIN, and then check the balance of my checking account. You see I have a substantial amount of money, relatively speaking. So then I'm going to do another withdrawal, let's say, of my some money I received for various tasks that I did for other people. And you can see that my deposit of $100 has been successfully processed, and the funds will be available in 3 days. I'll then do a withdrawal of $100 as well, because I need some additional money for my pocket. Once I've done that, I think I'm done. I can log out of the system. And now I've captured enough transactions, at least for the purposes of this demo, to be able to successfully create a virtual service. So I'm going to stop recording. You can see here that I've captured 6 transactions. I will move to the next screen. Here you will see these are the transactions that we captured. And if you wanted to look at one of these, you could say, for example, take a look at this. Click on request data and see exactly what the request was that came in, as well as any attributes or arguments that were passed as part of it. And you can see that we automatically detected that the format of the data that was being transported from the client to the backend systems was in the SOAP format. That's exactly what we want. So I'm just going to click on Next, and then I'm going to deploy this to my sandbox project, or save it in my sandbox project rather, and automatically deploy it to my virtual service environment, my VSE, which, as I said earlier, is my sandbox. I am not going to change any of these default parameters. This is something you can certainly find out more about when you contact your CA DevOps sales specialist to find out more information about the solution. Instead, we're simply going to save and deploy this virtual service. And we get a notification saying that it is deployed and it is ready to be used. We will quickly confirm this by, under the Manage sub-tab here, My Demo. This will show us the virtual service that we created. And if I'd like to actually see it within the context of the virtual service environment, we can go to the Monitor sub-tab log into our server console, which is a web-based view into the sandbox itself, and confirm that the application is running, or the virtual service is running, excuse me. Here it is, my demo. It's running on port 8001. I have 0 transactions so far. So having done that, I can automatically shut this backend system down so that we no longer have it running. And then if I start again, I'm going to confirm that I'm on port 8001, which I am. I'm going to move this slightly out of the way so you can see the transaction count go up as we start to log in and use the application just like before. And just like before, this transaction count gets periodically updated. And so I can use the application just like I did before. Check my balance. Perhaps I'll do a deposit, but this time I'm going to do a deposit of $40. You will recall that we deposited $100 last time. And so people often ask me what's the difference between this and mocks and stubs. Mocks and stubs do not have the ability to dynamically adjust their responses based on the context of the incoming request. But here you can see that my deposit of $40 has been successfully processed, and the date and time, or the time in this instance, has been updated specifically to reflect its relation to the date and time of the transaction when I actually executed it. If I do a withdrawal of $20, again, we withdrew $100 in the original recording, but the withdrawal of $20 has been successfully processed. Once again, demonstrating the adaptability of the virtual services based on the way the requests came in. And that's it. If you have any questions or would like to see a demonstration of the solution, I encourage you to reach out to your CA DevOps sales specialist and ask him about the service virtualization solution from CA Technologies. That was a high-level demonstration of the service virtualization solution.